I honestly hope we get sued for that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Practical Chrome, the podcast dedicated to everyday Chrome users, where we give you the latest tips, news, and reviews on all things Google Chrome. If you own a Chromebook, you use the Chrome browser, own a Chromecast, or shiny Chrome wheels on your hot whip, this is the podcast for you. My name, of course, is James Welbes, and with me today is the Craigslist Killer and Grandpa Oliphant. How you guys doing?
Craigslist Killer, you were called first.
Well, honestly, Jamie, I think it's time for a performance review. You started out a little shaky there, but you tailed it up in the end, and you came off strong in the end there, Jamie. That was a good cold open.
Yes.
Hands down. And you read off the script, and you didn't even read the wrong words this time. I can tell you practiced, and honestly, as a fellow professional, I give you massive props for that. Good job.
I read whatever's on the teleprompt, no matter what.
We found that out in practice, yes. I'm happy to be here.
All right. You, John?
Oh, you know, us old timers, we just wait patiently while the youngins do their thing. But I do have a cold, but I'm glad to be here. So I might cough every now and then. So I apologize for that.
We appreciate you giving up your Tuesday night bridge games to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. Me and the missus really get down on those two.
All right. Well, today's episode is called The State of the OS Address. There is a reason it's called that, I'm sure, probably. We're going to go ahead and get started in some non-presidential news. First thing we'd like to talk about today comes from OMG Chrome. This is called Stunning New Wallpaper for Chrome OS Guest Mode. If you're familiar with Chromebooks, you know that there is a guest mode, which is basically it's a mode for using the computer without storing any of your internet files, cookies, anything like that. As soon as you log out of guest mode, everything you did disappears. So it used to have in my opinion, pretty boring sandy wallpaper. Now it's got something new. What do you guys think about that?
I like gray. Gray
There's
is
lots
good.
of grays.
Gray is good. Gray is very good. I think I mean, I literally am giving you first impressions here, and I mean, it's material design with no color. So that would be and I think that when you see someone on a Chromebook and you see that, you're gonna know that immediately that they're on guest mode. But otherwise, that's all I got.
Yep. What about you, Craig? You like it? Hate it? Don't care?
It's an interesting choice. They decided not to go with the color that the standard material design wallpaper features. It's this weird, like, bluish with some green, I think. It's weird looking. Material design in general is weird color schemes. I still don't really get it. So I'm kind of happy this one's grayscale. It's actually my wallpaper on Windows 7 now because it lets me read the file names, which are white. So it's good contrast there, and it makes my Windows 7 PC a little less bleak to look at. Yeah, I think it's all right. I don't think it's earth-shattering, but most wallpapers aren't.
I agree. I don't hate it. I'm not sure I would call it stunning, as the OMG Chrome article calls it, but I don't hate it. I think it looks cool. I haven't actually played around with it yet to see what it looks like with windows and stuff on top of it, so all I've really seen is just a picture of it. But it looks fine.
I think we've broached this before, but what do we normally have on our desktops? Like, do you guys normally have like a cityscape or something very colorful, or are you just... What do you normally do?
Hold on, let me shrink my window. I have a wallpaper of water and sky, and it's mostly pink and blue, and I think there's an island off in the distance. Looks pretty default to me.
All right. I mean, I've got sheep, to be honest. I've got like rolling meadows with sheep on it.
I have on my Chrome machines, I'm going to try sharing my screen here. We're going to see. I have this gorgeous wallpaper. I think it might be a Trey Ratcliffe. It's this picture of, it's got some wheat-looking cattail weeds things, just very pretty river and then mountains in the distance. I use it on my phone as well, and my tablet, and all of my other devices, except for my Windows 7 PC, which at the moment is the guest wallpaper, but previously was just the classic Windows 98 blue, because I liked it simple, it didn't require any extra processing power, and I like to put all of my Windows PC's processing power behind doing something important and not just running Windows, which is kind of a pointless endeavor. But I am trialing the new wallpaper just because it gives a better contrast for the file names. And I still haven't committed to the Chrome OS ideology where you have nothing on your desktop. So my Windows PC is kind of like opening one of those rentable storage units, and you open the door and stuff just falls out on you. That's my Windows desktop. So that's where I'm at right now, James.
Craig, John, I don't know about you, but I wasn't able to see Craig's wallpaper. I think he shared a tab instead of his whole desktop.
I believe he did, but we let him continue on as if we could really see his desktop.
I do not like you guys. All right, how about we try this? Is
Should
it
we
working
tell him
now?
about the broccoli in his teeth too, or just let that go?
Is it working now?
Nope, I just see a tab that says plus.google.com/hangouts/ a bunch of stuff.
I'm so confused. It only gives me two options. One of them is called HP2. Oh, that's the name of my monitor. All right, let's try that.
Share that one. There we
How
go.
about that?
Ooh, that's
There
pretty.
we go. Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It is amazing to look at, and it looks really good on my monitor. And I actually did a tilt shift blur edit that I use on my phones, which lets me really see the icon names and folder names and stuff like that. So it's not quite as hard to read. But on Chrome OS, there are no file names on your desktop, so it's fine.
Very nice.
I like it. Okay, here let me see if I can show mine real quick.
Let's see the sheep.
Let's see the sheep.
Is it just a picture of a bunch of iPhone users?
It's showing the sheep. Ha ha! Nice. Excellent. Well done.
That was easy.
That was
Easy, but I took it.
awesome. Let me know if you can see. I'm actually showing the one on the Linux machine, because the one on my other one's not as cool. But that's my Shaun the Sheep.
Those are sheep.
Those are sheep.
He wasn't lying, folks.
Yeah, and that's a nice rock wall pattern thing that you got going there. Is that natural, or do you know if those rocks were moved there?
I believe that they were moved there. My Uncle Fred personally moved them. No, I have no idea, dude. You're killing me.
Give us the history here, John. If you don't know where your wallpapers are taken, I don't know what to do with you.
Is Fred an Irish name?
Francis is his real name.
We're getting technical.
We are.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Do your job, host.
Let's see if we can. How long we can talk about this one. Chromecast is having a Christmas deal of $20/£15/15 whatever that little E symbol is. Euros? Is that still a thing?
Is it still a? Oh my.
Europe hasn't moved to Bitcoin yet.
Ah!
You know, there are probably financial advisors in the world right now that are listening to this podcast and just finding that very funny, because I think inadvertently you just made a joke against the euro, and I think that's a legitimate joke.
It just made my brain hurt.
They're going back to Deutschmarks. Anywho,
Oh,
Why not turnips? Let's get back to basics.
No, wasn't it clamshells?
Those
The
turnips.
Flintstones had some, no, the
it's
Flintstones
Europe. I
used-
think cigarettes are a form of currency now, right?
Ooh, Lucy's. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. You guys got anything to say about a $20 Chromecast?
It's only valid if the Chromecast was purchased after December 7th, or on December 7th, or probably an overlap of those two statements. So if you got it during a Black Friday deal, you're out of luck. I'm sorry. I don't like... Well, it's entirely possible. I don't like to be the bearer of bad news. I don't like to come on here every Tuesday at exactly 10:42 p.m. and give you the worst news of your life. But if you manage to buy a Chromecast on a Black Friday deal, you are not going to get $20 or £15 or €15 in free Google Play credit. I do apologize.
Unless you buy another Chromecast.
Listen.
Who doesn't need a backup Chromecast?
Listen. Some people. We only have one TV in the house, except for this enormous, now what I call a monitor that I use because the HDMI ports are burnt. But listen, I think that Chromecast. I mean, literally for $20, that is. I mean, you're stealing it from Google at this point. My wife now uses the Chromecast daily for yoga. She loves it. She thinks it's the best. She turns on videos for the girls all the time. So I mean, $20, and you can stream from any desktop with the Chrome browser installed.
No, John.
Ridiculous.
No, John.
What?
It's the opposite. You pay full price for the Chromecast, and you get $20 in free Google Play credit to buy movies or music or whatever.
Well, that's even better, to be honest, because
It
you
is.
buy 2 sweet. That's even more cool.
Yeah.
If you buy it on sale for $30, because there's some places are selling it for like $30. Then you could really get yourself. Oh man, that's sweet.
It is.
That's a sweet deal. All right, yeah.
It is.
I totally re-engineered the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, now yeah. Come on.
This is what happens when you only read the title and you don't actually click the link, and you misread the title.
You're absolutely right. I bow to the host, and I apologize sincerely.
No, I was the first one that made that mistake. I thought it was a $20 Chromecast too.
Oh dear. All right.
Unless you're in India, then it's 2,999 rupees.
Yes.
Which sounds like a lot of money. It's not. And that's what I got to say about that.
And you've actually been to India, right, James?
I have been to India, and I've had the self-realization that while haggling with the rickshaw drivers over a difference of what seemed like a lot of rupees, turned out that I was arguing with these poor people about 5 cents. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to haggle about 5 cents anymore. I'll just pay them whatever they ask for. And that's a terrible philosophy to have in a foreign country, FYI. Don't just pay what they're asking for.
Awesome.
Thank you, host.
I have no idea what I was paying for anything in India. Anywho, that's the next bit of news. Chromecast is launched in India for 3,000 rupees, which probably comes out to...
That was 2,999.
My bad. Things in India are typically a little more expensive. I think 3,000 rupees is, around 45 American dollars? Something like that? I'm guessing.
$55.46.
All right.
Yeah, but with that $20 play credit.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that applies to India, though.
Oh, good point. We'll have to get with Dinsan and see if that's true.
We'd have to click the link to learn that, and you know how we feel about that.
Well, that's how you and I feel tonight, James. But Craig, jeez, I've read these articles 2 and 3 times. Make sure I'm up to date.
That's what Craig's here for. He's the knower of things.
There needs to be an app of some sort that ties into your camera and detects eye movement, and then does a little in-page pop-up of a link when you stare at it. Then you guys might actually read some stuff.
Oh, man.
What we really need is an HD camera on Craig as we watch his eyes roll as James and I go, what happened?
Or, actually, this would be a good way for you two to stay informed. Maybe like a weekly wrap-up show where we go through the news together as a group before we go on air and talk about the news as a group.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We should make that live.
All right, smart man.
Yeah, James is right. We should just do the first part live, so then we're not doing it twice.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
2 a.m. tonight, we'll do this again.
No.
We'll do next week.
Yeah, next week's.
Ah.
Using tonight's news.
Yes, indeed.
Oh boy. So, Chromecast in India, that's cool. Next, Chrome will soon warn when extensions are hogging your resources, which is awesome because extensions often hog resources, and it would be nice to know which one's doing it. Craig, did you actually read the article?
The one time you ask.
Yes. I prayed that you would say no.
I actually skimmed it. What I'm not clear on is whether it's going to warn you when all of your extensions are exceeding a threshold or a particular one is exceeding a threshold. Joey over at OMG Chrome says that he's not clear on what type of limit it's going to be, so where the threshold is, if it's going to automatically kill off stuff, if it's not. John's saying he's able to correct me, I think. Is that right, John? No? Okay. Moving on. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what the implementation is going to be here. I do like the idea of Chrome warning you when an extension is misbehaving. We've got problems with memory leaks on some extensions. An extension may update silently in the background, have a bad update. They start leaking memory, slow your whole system down, and you may not really understand which extension or even what caused that because it was working fine yesterday. We see a lot of that over the product forum. So I'm all in favor of Chrome identifying what's slowing things down so that everyone doesn't just assume Chrome is broken, except for when Chrome is actually broken, in which case I think Chrome should be upfront that it's broken. But thankfully that only happens every couple weeks.
I have a quick thought here. So right now, like at work, right, I deal with an XP desktop. Easy. And I do have to open up Task Manager from time to time and kill some stuff, right? And I don't know whether that's because I'm a geek or because, you know, that's what you had to do back in the day. But Joey's actually
It's just Windows.
I know. But Joey's making, in the bottom of the article, Joey makes some comments about, like, you know, some top tips, right? So, and Joey always has great information, and I do appreciate stuff like this. But I'm also like, are we really there? Because some of the comments are disable and re-enable add-ons, you know, as and when you need them. I mean, that kind of, that makes me like cringe a little bit that like you'd have to do that. I don't know why. I see Chrome OS as like this auto-updating, super awesome, you know, OS. And to think that we'd have to go into the, you know, Chrome extensions and turn things off and on. So it just seems kind of, I mean, it's almost, you're supposed to be able to just turn on Chrome and roll. I'm not saying that I hate the fact that we have to do it. It's just like the fact that there are people that aren't in the know. Just like now I know to right-click the taskbar and select Task Manager and like kill some stuff if I'm having a problem. This forces people to be like, wait, I have to go and I have to hit the settings button and then I have to go to extensions and then I'm supposed to look for ones I might need to kill, but I like that app. Isn't that app good? It's in the Chrome Web Store. That's all I'm saying. That's just my kind of my beef with that whole thing. I get it. I'm just before you say anything, Craig, I know that this is the whole point of this article is to say that Chrome's not going to do a little bit of that for you to tell you when an app's been misbehaving. But I mean, the point is it's kind of sucks. That's all. Sucks.
I completely agree.
Me too.
I completely agree. There is actually a feature that developers of extensions can take advantage of called event pages, which instead of the extension running 24/7 in the background, it's only loaded when it's called to action, and then it runs, and then when the call to action stops, it stops. And that's been available since Chrome version 22, and it doesn't seem like a lot of apps and extensions are making use of it. So I think the real issue here isn't necessarily one that Google has any ability to control, but rather that independent developers need to optimize and upgrade their existing apps and extensions, as well as in the future, as they create new ones, make sure that they're following best practices. I think Google could be more involved there. I know they do a lot of hackathons in big cities, but I think a lot of times extensions and there's a lot of creativity in small towns where hackathons and stuff don't necessarily reach. And I think Google could be doing a lot better job of reaching developers and explaining best practices and stuff like that. So I think Google holds some responsibility here, and I like that they're trying to address the symptom. But when it comes to addressing the real core issue, it's laying a framework for Chrome extensions to be optimized and then convincing developers it's worth doing. And I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I agree. The idea of having to go into extensions and enable and disable extensions is ridiculous. I mean, even for guys like us who know how to do it, it's a hassle. I don't want to do that all the time. I Some of the extensions will show up next to your Omnibar, and some of them are click on that icon to make it do something, but that's not enabling or disabling. What I would like to see is I have a huge taskbar at the bottom of my screen that's not being used. I would say maybe a fifth of it right now is being used by the few apps that I've pinned to my taskbar. I would like to be able to pin extensions to my taskbar, click on them to toggle them on and off. If they're enabled, they're in color. If they're disabled, they're gray. I think that would be cool because there are certain extensions that I want to keep around but would like to only enable when I want to use them. So I think that would be a neat idea. Have the apps on the left, extensions on the right, whatever. But I agree with John, and just going into extensions and scrolling through your long list of extensions and find the one you want to enable or disable. That's a hassle, and it's silly to expect us to have to do that.
I do think that the fact that they've created this, that if the error warning pops up, if you can just simply kill it, then that's Google doing their job of saying the extension sucks. So, and they already kind of do that with some things. So that's when the permissions change. So I'm down with it though. I do see the benefits of this feature. So, just saying.
Yep, absolutely. So the next thing we want to talk about comes from one of our favorite blogs, written by one of our favorite bloggers named Dinsan. The blog is called Chrome Story, and it's talking about a kid-friendly version. It's titled "Kid-Friendly Version of Chrome is in the Works?" ? And it's talking about supervised user. John, do you want to go ahead and quickly explain what a supervised user is?
Sure. A supervised user is actually a really neat idea. It allows you to create a user based on your account, but that allows you to control it. So like you can set it up to like only go to certain websites, things like that. So that way, and you can give it a password, username, login, even photo. So that way, like my daughters can each have a supervised user account, and I can actually see where they've been, what they've been doing. They're not super fleshed out. I mean, like there's Microsoft actually has a really good version of that set up out there, but supervised users is really cool that my daughters can come up to my Chromebook and log me out essentially, and then get to their account immediately and have things like favorites and things like that available to them. And I think actually some apps are available to them, but that's what it offers right now.
So is it a completely separate login that you create for your daughter, or is it kind of like an extension of your account?
It is not a Gmail account, and that's actually by law, because of the fact that, or not by law, it allows Google to be a little bit more flexible with the way they create accounts, but because of the fact that there are laws regarding people under the age of 13, that Google does not allow people under the age of 13 to have Gmail accounts, and i.e. then Google accounts, because you cannot track them. It's right. Thank you, Craig. It's COPPA is the COPPA.
I think it's pronounced COPPA.
I think the nice term is COPPA, but basically enterprise companies are not allowed to track what a 13-year-old a person under the age of 13 does, right? For either marketing purposes or anything else for that matter. They're not allowed to track them, right? This protects our kids. It takes care of all that good stuff. So supervised users was a way, currently the only way, for you to allow someone under the age of 13 to log into your computer without it being under your account.
What you mean is this is the only way Google could track what 13-year-old kids are doing.
Now, okay.
Because they're technically tracking your account, right?
No, I don't believe that they are. I believe that the accounts are 100% separated, except for the fact that you can see the data. But that's a thin line because no one really, I don't think that's been audited. So I've never heard of it being audited. I can't correct, I can't, I know I am with facts. But on this one, I'm not going to do that because I think that, and in regard to the story coming up, that's some facts we want to know. The fact that that they don't track supervised users, we don't know. It's really at this point, because I don't know if there's been any audits. I simply don't know. It's a moral precedent if they did it or not. They could be. I don't think they would be because there's no reason to. It would harm their public image greatly if they were to be like, oh, we totally track supervised users, because people know that the supervised users are mostly going to be kids. Like literally, like 50 to 80% of them are going to be children that you want to log on your Chromebook, because you're trying to obey the law yourself and not give them a Gmail account. So if they were to, it would be a huge, I mean, like enormous black mark on them if they were to be tracking supervised users. So I'm going to have to say no. It's not a educated guess. I'll you know, Craig, if you know of anything in regard to auditing that process.
Sure. The intent of COPA is not exactly spot on with what you were explaining. It's very similar, but the core difference is it's not about tracking. It's about storing personally identifiable information. Some examples of that are like first and last name, email address, phone number, social security number, or any little bits of information that can be used to identify them. It's also, COPA is very kind of limited in scope as to who it applies to. It's not just anybody. The details get to like where if a website's designed for kids versus not designed for kids, commercial use versus non-commercial use. There's a lot of factors, and I'm not a lawyer. But what we do know about supervised users, John, is you're correct. Right now, they're the only way for people under the age of 13, essentially, to use a Chromebook, officially discarding Google Apps for Education, which has a whole separate process. COPA can also be waived. Parents can actually opt into allowing their children to be identified by companies by signing a simple waiver. And I'm not sure if that waiver must be physical, if it can be digital. But the article in question is not actually talking about supervised users at all. It's talking about Google creating custom versions of their products intended for kids. So a full version of Chrome just for kids, a full version of YouTube just for kids, a full version of Search just for kids. And I think we actually have details on Search somewhere, or a mock-up or something. It looks very different compared to the standard Google. So it's interesting. I'm not sure timeline-wise. The article actually says that a driving force is a lot of Googlers are starting to have kids, which is kind of funny to me.
That's finally allowed now?
Yeah, I didn't know they had time.
I know they used to have a very strict celibacy policy.
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Well, it's interesting that Google as a company is shifting based on the median age of their employees. To me, that's interesting. It might mean that they're not hiring as many young people, or people that are getting up 20s, 30s aren't leaving to go to other companies as often as typically is reported. A lot of people, you think of Google, you think people work there for 5 years, then they leave and start a company. You know, they leave and start Uber, or they leave and start Twitter. You know, they go other places, or they stay at Google and they rise up the ranks very quickly. You think of Google as a very fast-moving organization, and it's interesting that they're saying this is why we're looking into this. I don't know. Maybe they're playing a little card to try to get parents on their side. I don't know. It could be PR. I'm cynical. I know.
John.
Yes.
Not cool.
My point is that the the COPA laws are around there. So what I want to see with this whole thing is the Craig, if you take something by the letter of the law, what if you take it by the intent of the law?
The intent of the law says that corporations should not track identifiable information about people under the age of 12 without their parents' consent.
Identifiable information.
Without their parents' consent.
Without their parents' consent. So I mean, like, I don't like the ambiguity of the law, because Google could say, well, they purchased a Chromebook, they're on Chrome OS, which we still maintain for each device, right? Well, then they basically sign the thing that we can, know the child's age and the zip code, and then every other piece of detail is now marketable.
Well, under, I don't know what section, but under the verifiable parental consent section, it says that term means any reasonable effort taking into consideration available technology, including a request for authorization for future collection, use, and disclosure described in the notice to ensure that a parent of a child receives notice of the operator's personal information collection, use, and disclosure. Basically, it means you have to make a reasonable effort. I have always seen COPA waivers as actual waivers that you sign and you fax. Given that we now live in a world where we can scan things, that might work too. Maybe electronic fingerprints or electronic signatures. I don't know. I don't know what counts. I'm not a lawyer. I'm sure Google's lawyers fight about that too. But I think the intention is just to prevent kids from being tracked without their parents' consent. And I agree that's very good in intention, but I feel the law is a little bit out of date. I feel it's a little bit restrictive to kids because there are some. It's hard to put ages on things and say, okay, starting when the day you turn 13, companies are now allowed to track you. It's hard to say that. So I think the ability to give parents the ability to opt out is important.
How many times have we seen an overreaching EULA? Right, where you see that the little button to scroll is like the size of a tick, and you're like, man, if I got to read all of that, I'm just gonna click yes, I agree to the terms, and okie dokie. So if COPA allows for that, if it's not expressly written that you can just click a box electronically and say okie dokie, because we've all seen things where like it turns out that the EULA has like literally, you just sold your right leg, your soul, and your next 5 Sundays for, community service with the devil. So, like, you never know. And so I don't think, Google's told them to don't be evil. I don't think that they would do that. But what if a company behind them goes, well, Google did it, so now you've got a precedent, and now you've got people, I don't know. There's that factor. So I just want everybody to look at that. I don't think anybody is, because when the masses see that they can buy a computer or use Chrome for kids, they're going to be like, oh, and then they're just going to do it. I just want people to be mindful, that's all.
Amen. So yeah, I'm glad that Craig brought that up. This Chrome for Kids is not supervised users, but I wanted to just explain what that was because mostly because Dinsan opened with that with the supervised users, and this is going to be very similar. I think the point of it is going to be basically the same, a way for kids to access Google products. And right now, supervised users doesn't really look any different at all than it will for you or me. It sounds like Chrome for Kids might actually just be more, kid-like, and I don't know. There's literally no details about this yet at all from Google, except something's coming. So it's all just speculation at this point. But it sounds like this is going to just be something that's actually geared towards the demographic of child rather than just giving parents the ability to restrict stuff. So that could be fun or not. We'll see. The next thing we're going to talk about is also comes from Chrome Story, and it's called Google to add supervised users, which we sort of touched on already. They're going to add it to Chrome for Android, ? Dinsan likes to add question marks to a lot of his titles. So, John, do you think this will be useful? Do your kids use your phone a lot, and you wish that you could have the same sort of control over that as you do on your Chromebook?
I mean, that's a really good question, except for the fact that when it comes to my phone, I they don't do a lot of web surfing, just because honestly my kids are 3 and 6 right now, so spelling's not their like high suit. So like um, it's she's getting good though. Sarah's getting good though, but the using a browser, she doesn't even know there's a browser on there. She only knows that there are games on there. So if I were to point it out, I'm sure that she'd be like, "Oh yay!" But really, like the Angry Birds and the trains and the Frozen and the Disney Princess Pets, that's gonna win out every time versus a browser where it's like I could access the web. Right? She's not like this philosophical like I'm going to expand my brain. Right? She goes over to the device and she's like I won't play a game. So
fast forward 10 years from now.
Okay, good question. I guess the thing is, is it an overlay to the already existing OS? Because if I unlock my phone, I use a pattern, and I hand the phone to my daughter and I go, do whatever you want, am I logging into Chrome every time I pick it up myself, or am I just relying on the fact that she's going to press the supervised user with her name on it first, version of Chrome? So that doesn't really, because I mean, like, let's say you're driving and you're like, she's like, let me see your phone. I'm like, okay, cool. I unlock it and I hand it back to her. I can't watch over her shoulder at that point, right? If we have a home desktop, which we do, we have like, or a laptop, I walk by every minute or two, I can see exactly what she's doing. You hand her a phone, she can hide anything that she's doing. I don't mean that she would. She doesn't have that little sparkle in her eye like she's, criminal. But she's.
Don't forget, we're 10 years in the future. You never know. We're talking about a teenager here.
Well, if she's 16, she can have her own Gmail account at that point.
Well, you're right. I was thinking of your 3-year-old, but okay, fast forward 6 years.
I'm with you. But do you see my point, though? When it comes to a mobile device, you're actually then trusting the person. And then I think that from a parental standpoint, I love my kids, but I don't trust my kids because they're kids, and I used to be one,
Amen.
and I used to do all that kind of stuff myself. And so if I knew a way around it, that was my. I mean, some kids are angelic. I know this, but I was not that child. I
TV
was the
kids.
child. I was the right. Exactly. You almost had me go on a rant there about Jesse for a second, but hold on just a second. So, I was not angelic. I would take someone's phone and start digging in like settings like right away, right? Like when I was like 6 or 7, I'd be like,
and set it to Portuguese before you give it back, right?
Exactly. Like I'm that kid. So I love my kids, but I don't trust kids because they're just too damn curious.
For me, the fact that I can make Google Play ask for a password before buying anything, that's about all the control I really need. I just need to make sure my kids ain't buying crap that I don't want them to buy. I think what would be cooler would be an Android level child account where before I hand my phone over, similar to Google products on desktop, I could tap a button and select her account, and in order to come back into my account, you would have to put in my password, and then she can have her own little account. You can already do this on Android, like my tablet. It's not a supervised user though, but I can add another user, so my wife and I can basically have our own separate accounts on the tablet, and switching between the two is really simple. So something like that, a supervised Android user, I think would be a lot more useful than a supervised user on Chrome for Android. Craig, you got like 6 kids. What do you think about this?
Well, I'm not letting Darren near anything.
He's one of the Waltons.
Yeah, James, you're right. Android has guest mode. I'm looking at it right now. It works pretty well. I helped Denson look at this, which you would have known if you read the article.
There's an article?
There is an article. It's called supervised user, but it's also called child account. There's different mentions instructions in the code. It's entirely possible that this is part of the new 4Kids effort, and that this will allow you to control the browser on a child account on Android. If that's the case, that would be perfect. You hand off the tablet to them, set up a Android supervised account, and then you get to filter their browsing on that account. That makes perfect sense to me. It's great integration. Knowing to Google, it'll be here in 6 to 8 years. So that's kind of where we're at.
It'll be in beta for another 6 to 8 years.
Yeah. Didn't Gmail just get out of beta when Inbox went in?
That's a good, I still love Inbox. But Craig, I'm gonna have to call on the fact that you said that your name's in the article. Is that what you said?
It is.
I don't.
Very
No.
bottom.
It's at the bottom, fool.
Y'all are smoking like huge crack rocks. Like
Are you
literally-
looking at the kid-friendly version or the Google to add supervised user article?
the kid-friendly version?
It's the Google to add supervised user feature article, John. You're an article behind.
Oh dear.
As long as you're reading an article, I don't even care if it's the right one. I mean, we are making progress.
Listen, I told you, I have been in. I'm busy. So-
Yeah,
Things are happening. Things are in motion.
sure.
I do see
So-
your name now in bold blue links.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty fancy. That's how you know you've made it when when your name is a blue link somewhere.
Definitely. It's
All
that way
right.
when you do a Google search for me too.
So the next thing
that only
that
brings up
Craig
your killing. That's different.
has generously highlighted the next article for John in the show notes, so he'll know which one we're reading now. We're going to talk about Smart Unlock for Chrome OS. This is another Chrome story. Chrome story. Smart Unlock, briefly, is, if I understand it correctly, by reading the title of this article, it allows you to unlock your Chromebook just by having your Bluetooth-enabled phone within Bluetooth connecting range of said Chromebook. The requirements, as far as I know, are the Chromebook has to be on the developer channel, and the phone has to be a phone. It doesn't work with tablets yet, and it has to be on Android L 5.0. So I don't meet any of these requirements. I have an Android L tablet, which is not a phone, and I have a phone, which is not a 5.0 phone, and my Chromebooks are not in dev mode. So I have almost nothing to say about this other than it sounds like a cool feature that I can't wait to take advantage of someday. Have either of you been able to take advantage of this feature?
I will start, Craig. Absolutely not.
Thank you, John. And now to Craig for the weather.
It's rainy here, James. It's rainy. It's somber, if I had to say a word. It's sad that the two of you are not making use of this feature.
Can the weather be somber?
It can
It
be,
is.
John.
It is sad. And you know what?
It's not like
In
a
the year
gentle mizzle, like during like a funeral. That is somber to
What's
me.
a mizzle?
That means it's mist and drizzle. It's mizzle.
I thought it was a Snoop Dogg reference.
No.
I thought you were trying to be hip.
No, I'm never hip. Ever. I'll be hip when I'm 80 and I break one. That's the only time I'm ever going to be hip.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was a joke from John Elephant.
I make them every day and twice on Sunday. Thank you very much.
Getting back
Oh,
on
boy.
topic.
Thank you.
This feature looks interesting. I will not be making use of it because I do not trust it. That shouldn't come as a shock to anybody.
Craig
I
trusts
don't-
nothing.
I don't like the idea of all of the security. I mean, I use my little key thing every time I log in, two-factor auth. I don't like the idea of all of that disappearing just because something that pretends to be my phone happens to be near my computer.
Well, would you still have to, if you have two-step authentication enabled, would this Bluetooth Easy Unlock only take care of one of those two steps? Would you still have to do something?
I have not gotten a clear answer on that yet. I'm not willing to enable it and find out, to be
Hey,
We'll
honest.
have to enable three-step authentication.
Wait, do you guys remember we a few months ago we talked about this, and we talked about the Bluetooth. Like I have one of those LG Bluetooths that goes around your neck and it has the little guys that go in your ear. Have you guys either one of you done a trusted device unlock with a Bluetooth device with your phone? Because I'm thinking that it's roughly the same type of feature, which is that if I kick on this Bluetooth device, which is just a headset, to my phone, it gives me this warning like, okay, you've got this trusted device that you've connected. Do you want to stay unlocked? And I say okay. That way, when I'm driving, I just pick up the phone and text away while I'm driving, without having to unlock my phone, right? It's because it's already connected. Of course, I'm making a terrible joke, but the point is that when it's connected to Bluetooth, because it's a trusted device, it unlocks the device. Basically, if I walk 40 feet away, the phone will lock, but otherwise, it is not locked.
Right. That's my understanding as well. And I think you can do a daisy chain where your watch unlocks your phone and your phone unlocks your Chromebook. But I am not, like I said, I don't use the trusted on my phone either. I don't trust it. I do know that Google is currently conducting, and I think I can say this, well, I should be careful. They're currently conducting a usability test that requires that participants have a Chromebook, a Bluetooth wearable device, and something else. Oh, a phone running Lollipop. And supposedly, if you filled out the form, some of the information it said was you are going to be required to keep a record/diary/journal of every time that you log into your device. So go ahead and draw your own conclusions there about what they could possibly be trialing. But it seems pretty likely that they're testing the user experience of this. James, you said this is available on the dev channel. That's my understanding as well. I've heard that it's going to be stable in milestone 40. I've heard it's not going to be stable until milestone 41 hits stable. There's currently a development freeze going into effect. It happens every year. So we may not see milestone 40 or 41 until January or February, maybe even March.
Where's stable right now? Is it 38?
39.
So beta's in 40?
For some devices.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say my beta is still in 39.
Some devices. That's actually a good note because confusions already popped up about that. The release blog did not exclude any devices, but looking over the Omaha proxy list, some devices are not yet on milestone 40 beta. So it could be a slow rollout. It could be an oversight, but yeah. So we're in this.
My Chromebox is still on 39, and my Chromebook Acer C720p is on 40.
Yeah, I
So, yeah.
I have an update I'm supposed to be rebooting for, but I'm not going to do it right now.
So what I'm kind of curious about is Bluetooth unlock. Do I need to first unlock my Chromebook, go to settings, connect my Chromebook to my phone via Bluetooth, and then from that point on, my phone will unlock my Chromebook, and if I reboot my phone or just toggle Bluetooth off and on, do I then have to manually unlock my Chromebook again, reconnect via Bluetooth for the easy unlock to keep working, or is it smart enough to know you just tell it one time, this is my phone, anytime you even sense my phone's Bluetooth around you, unlock? I'm guessing it's the former.
I believe that once you set the Bluetooth functionality to unlock, basically it's like Dungeons and Dragons and having the special device, and every time you walk up to a door, it just unlocks.
I'm going to need you to explain that in terms that us non-nerds can understand.
If it's any way that the phone works, because it's a trusted device, once you open the Chromebook and once you have your phone near it and the Bluetooth radio is turned on, a trusted device will talk to a trusted device because they're always constantly looking for the trusted devices. And so, in essence, you will basically be able to just click your username and you'll log into your account. And you won't have to put in a password. That's my assumption. But unless I get this user experience thing because I did put in the form, even though I don't have a Lollipop. Because it said Moto X or device with Lollipop. I want to put that out there. It said Moto X or device with Lollipop. I don't have Lollipop, but I do have a Moto X.
Aren't you getting it now? Isn't it rolling out for the
No,
2013?
I have a 13 model.
Yeah, isn't it rolling out now?
You released that post, and I don't have it.
No, I think it's rolling out now to the 13. I think they went back and there were some hardware differences, obviously, to address.
It's rolling out, but I don't have it, Craig.
Well,
Pretty sad.
there's not a lot I
Give
can
it to
do.
you.
I am curious if your assumption is right, John, how they're solving the encrypted stateful partition problem on boot, because your stateful partition is encrypted with your password. So to decrypt that on boot, you kind of need your password. I don't know that a trusted device can do that unless they're basically building in a second password that your trusted device knows. It doesn't make any sense. I'm curious how they're doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, Craig, I think your standpoint of, or your stance on the whole unlocking thing, I think is honestly the best way to go about it right now. Because I just don't think the technology is just not the Bluetooth. I've never liked Bluetooth. I use it for my headphones, but I've never liked it. There's huge holes there. So I'm kind of with Craig that I don't know if I'd use it for my Chromebook. I use it for my phone when it comes to the headset, but I don't know. I feel like the phone's sitting in my pocket, right? And then when I walk far enough away from it, the Bluetooth disconnects, and I'm good to go. But I could accidentally leave my phone next to my Chromebook. That's all I'm saying.
I think NFC would be a better choice.
I was going to say that. I think that would be a great choice. I don't think any Chromebooks have NFC hardware yet. The Chrome OS supports NFC, so if you get like an external NFC pad, you could do that. I'm guessing we'll probably see some Chromebooks in the future coming with NFC chips in them, but that's just a guess. But I agree. I think NFC would be a much better, more secure way. My phone's not going to unlock my Chromebook from 15 feet away. They pretty much have to be touching.
I'm down with that.
NFC is the future.
Near field communication, y'all.
Ugh. Come and Go. I want to rant for a minute. Come and Go accepted NFC Tap and Pay, and then they stopped accepting NFC Tap and Pay, and I'm pissed. That is the end of my rant. Stupid Come and Go.
Blame currency. And you have to say it like that, otherwise it just
I don't
sounds
think-
like you're blaming
I don't-
currency.
I don't think they're on the list of people who are going to use that stupid, crappy payment system. I think they just got tired of using Tap to Pay. I don't know what their deal is. Maybe they are on the list. I don't know. But it worked at several locations, and then it stopped working. And I know it's not me because it still worked at Walgreens, and it just doesn't work at Come and Go anymore.
Yeah, I think Walgreens was one of the ones that stand up to currency. I'm sorry, Craig, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Have you complained on Twitter?
No. That would require me using Twitter. If you would like to complain on Twitter for me.
It does work, though. I'm serious.
Does Come and Go have a Twitter?
I would assume so. Do they have a PR team?
Complaining at 140 characters a second.
Mm-hmm. Anywho, coming to the title track of tonight's episode.
Ooh, the title track. I'm excited.
You may,
I have no idea what's going on right now.
I'm sure you don't. You may remember my super lame title for this episode, State of the OS Address. That is because Dinsan over Chrome Story has located a video of our dearest president, Barack Obama,
Shut the
using
front door.
a Chromebook. Now, we already know that Obama is down with the Googs because Obama's video conferencing tool of choice is, of course, Google Hangouts. But we now have video proof of Barack Obama using a Chromebook. It looks to be the Acer CB13, which is a 13-inch Chromebook that I think has the Bay Trail processor. Is that correct? Anybody?
No, that's got the NVIDIA chip, doesn't it?
Oh, I think you might be right.
That's the sleek white model that I really wanted to get my hands on.
So he has terrible choice in Chromebooks using an ARM book, but he is using a Chromebook, which is cool.
I love it.
No president is perfect. Bush would be using an i3 Chromebook, but whatever. So no, this is cool.
Bush would be using a Chromebook run by a V8 using high test gasoline. That's what he would be using. It would just be, you could just hear this rumble in the background. That's what's going on.
No. Bush would be using a Lenovo, but an armored edition.
Okay.
Or he'd just be literally using an aircraft carrier, and an admiral would be speaking to him what's written on the screen.
Clearly, Bush doesn't know how to use a computer.
Well, you can't say that because he does do some great paintings, and I understand that some of those are done with a stylus.
I thought they were all done with his finger. Anyway, here's my here. So, James.
Yes.
I love Dinsan, and I love our president, and the reason that I love our president is because he's the president of the United States. No matter how he was elected or who elected him or whatever, he's the president of our country, and I love him anyway, whether or not I agree with him or not. Same thing with George Bush. He deserves respects. Respects.
How many respects? 4 respects? 5?
All right.
All the respects?
My point is, you can't say President Obama uses a Chromebook. Or okay, all right, I'll back up. Dinsan didn't say he uses a Chromebook. He says he's using a Chromebook, but I think that's just like I'm not going to say what I think this article is, but I think it's ridiculous that that people are even talking about this, because it's like my nephew who he lives in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is like this there's more money in that county than you can shake a stick at, and they're getting the Chromebooks, even though they have literally probably 17 bajillion children. I was surprised, but I was like, that's so awesome. But the Chromebooks are literally flying out the door when it comes to education. I mean, flying out the door for Google, because it's. I mean, honestly, because it's awesome, right? But my point is, the president of the United States is using a Chromebook because it's in a school. So I'm kind of like, man, I have a negative attitude this afternoon. Go ahead.
You're mostly right, John. The reason he's actually using a Chromebook is because this was an event called Hour of Code, and it was designed to get kids coding. So he was stopping by a school to encourage kids to learn how to code. And this event was sponsored by Code.org, which happens to count among its many platinum donators at the $3 million level, both Google and Microsoft. So in all honesty, these laptops were probably supplied by Google. They look brand new. They were probably press-ready devices. They looked good. They were fresh out of the box, and they were probably set up 20 minutes before the president arrived, right after security people scanned them.
That makes me want to cry my Cheerios. That you think
they probably had i7 processors and 8 gigs of RAM.
Well, no, here's the trick. They did put a sticker, the Hour of Code sticker, over the Chrome and Acer logos. So the logos were not in any of the press shots. This was not Google's trying to say. Google's not saying, oh, look, the President of the United States is using our devices. These photos were just posted online on Tumblr, I think, and they went from there. Somebody identified the laptop as a Chromebook. Sure, whatever. They could have just as easily been MacBooks, except the logo wouldn't have been hidden, or Windows devices. Most of those don't have a logo because, let's be honest.
It really sucks, though, Craig. I mean, I looking at the images in Dinsan's article, which are videos that are posted from ABC News and everything like that. You're absolutely right. They totally covered up the logos for everything. So basically, it's not even like the president uses a Chromebook thing. It's literally, I think that when you dig deep enough, man, that burns my britches, dude. Because really, like you're really gonna stage it like that, like this hour of code, and you're gonna.
Well,
What's being staged?
hang on. Who are you angry at, John? Are you angry at Google or the media, or specifically Denson?
I love Denson. Denson's my man. He basically pulled together some information about Chromebooks, which obviously we can see on the screen. Those are Chromebooks, and the President of the United States is using them. The leader of the free world. The fact that the leader of the free world is sitting with a group of students, and you're absolutely right that there is stickers over the labels, things like that, and the possibility, again, I love not to use facts, but there is a possibility here of the fact that it was a marketing event. You're right; they are honestly brand new devices sitting on the top the table, and honestly, what child uses a mahogany desk to sit at and work at, or a mahogany table? And of course, man, just.
Well, hang on.
It makes me sad, Craig, that this is literally looking at it. It does look completely staged.
Well, okay, hang on a second. Of course it's staged. It's a presidential shot. Of course they moved the kids that were going to sit next to them into a better place. But that doesn't devalue the fact that this was a charity, Code.org, coming into a school and encouraging kids to code, and having the president there as an ambassador to the idea that coding should be done is not a bad thing. Having the president endorse a skill set is not a bad thing. Having Google supply laptops is not a bad thing. Google wasn't doing it to get their laptops featured because they covered up the logos. It's a zero-sum game for them. So I don't see anything wrong with this. I honestly, if I had to blame anybody, I would blame Denson for just going off and saying, "Oh yeah, the president uses Chromebooks." Well, he used a Chromebook. He used a Chromebook, but it's not.
The title just says "Watch President Obama use a Chromebook." Like, Denson's not claiming that Barack Obama has a Chromebook in his Oval Office that he uses as his daily driver. He's just saying, "Hey, everybody, watch Obama use a Chromebook."
Right, which is why I'm not. If I had to be mad at somebody, it would be Denson, but I'm not mad at anybody here because I don't see this as a negative thing. I see it as a charity coming in and promoting the idea of coding. I see the president coming in promoting that coding is a good thing, and a couple press photos which are just as staged as when the president, just as staged as when George W. Bush reads books to children when he was in office. It's
when
nothing
we all know
new.
Bush can't read.
Well, that's neither here nor there. But of course it's staged. The press shots are staged. It doesn't mean that the situation was necessarily staged, but it was scheduled. It was set up. They knew which day the president was coming in. He didn't just show up.
Before we get sidetracked here, Lightbot, and there's a couple of other apps, but Lightbot is actually a really great app to show kids to learn programming. Right? If you get a chance, there's a free Summer of Code version of Lightbot. You should take a look at it, and it'll help. It helps children understand it's procedural programming, and it's really fascinating. So it's something I downloaded for my daughter. My daughter really loved it. So Lightbot on Android, check that out. Summer of Code. Coding is good. If then, go on.
Here's what I take from this video, aside from the fact that Obama has not aged well. I love the fact that we're talking about teaching people how to code, and it's being done on a Chromebook. I think that's a decent testament to what Chromebooks can do. I think some people would say coding on a Chromebook, that's stupid. I would have to use a Windows box or at least a Linux box or something. You couldn't do any serious coding on a Chromebook. And here, codefreaking.com is saying, here, let's teach these kids how to code on a Chromebook. We had an episode a few weeks or months ago that was pretty much all about coding on a Chromebook, and I think we felt the need to have that episode because of the idea that Chromebooks are useless and they're only good for checking your email And so I just like the fact that Chromebooks being used to code is getting some media attention, and very, very little media attention given the fact that the logos are all covered up and you have to notice the TV in the background to even know they're using Chromebooks. But people like Dinsan are bringing this fact to light, that people are coding on Chromebooks.
I think you are reading into it way too much. I look at this and see it as a celebration of coding. I don't look at it and see it as an endorsement of Chromebooks as good coding devices.
I don't either.
And even they covered up the logos because they didn't want it to be any sort of endorsement. It doesn't matter what laptops they were using. So I understand what you're saying. Oh, this gives some validation to that, but I don't think it should. I think this was more about teaching coding as an important skill, getting kids interested in something. Because frankly, that's a problem these days. Just getting them a little bit interested in something, whether it's science or code or whatever. So I see it as a nice, shiny thing that John is poo-pooing and you're reading too far into.
I'm not saying that their intention was to say, hey, look, you can code on a Chromebook. I'm saying that's what I took from the video. I'm saying, hey, that's cool. Somebody thinks that coding on a Chromebook is actually possible. Code.com, for instance, thinks it's cool. That's not their intention. Code.com is not saying, hey, look what you can do on a Chromebook. They're saying, hey, let's teach kids how to code. And I'm just thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. They're using a Chromebook to do that. And I think that's what Dinsan was thinking too, and wanted to show people, even if that wasn't Obama's intention or Code.com's intention. I think Dinsan's intention is to say, hey, Chromebooks are getting legitimate use. They're not just being used by grandma to check her email or kids to do whatever they do with them in school, you know, typical docs and stuff like that. They're actually being used to teach other people how to code. And I think that may be what Dinsan's intention was a little bit.
I see what you're saying, and it is code.org.
My bad.
That's driving me crazy. I see what you're saying, but my point is just I wouldn't even look at it that far because Google probably lent them the laptops for the day. So I don't give any weight. I think it's more a matter of availability. The Chromebooks were handy. If Windows laptops were handy or if MacBooks were handy, it could have been any other direction. And I don't think that I don't read any further into it. That's just me. And I don't think most people even know what Chromebooks are. Go ahead, John.
I do want to. Excuse me. I've got the hiccups now, which is terrible. It like literally hurts how much I'm hiccuping. But I did want to share my screen for a second, for the purposes of showing you that I've actually recently been really delving into using Code Anywhere. Hiccups are terrible. Have either of you guys used Code Anywhere or any others to try and do some stuff to like do, you know, because go ahead, James.
I have. I've switched back and forth between that and Cloud9, and I keep forgetting to write down the pros and cons of each one, so I'm still not sure which one I prefer. Right now, Cloud9 happens to be pinned to my taskbar, so that's the one that I use. But there's both incredibly similar, and I've been very productive with Code Anywhere.
Okay. Well, if I can stop these hiccups, and my cold on top of that, so I'm gonna force share this screen here real quick for a second, if it's possible. I don't think it is anymore. No, there it is. Okay. Present it to everyone. So if you get a chance to check out the YouTube video, my point here is that the Chrome does allow you, and I'm on a Linux machine, but there's a dev box actually like loaded. So if and the dev box is free. It's going to be awesome. The dev box is free from Code Anywhere. Now, what this allows you to do is that I could open up an SSH terminal. That's going to be awesome. And and now I'm able to actually, like, for instance, like Jekyll, right? Jekyll is a open source logging tool using flat files. If I go into my it's awesome. Hold on. Tina, hold please. If I actually go in and I can actually execute the Jekyll serve command, and once I hold on a second. Bear with me. My point is that the dev boxes, which are free, they just can't be live all the time, allows me to test out, for instance, like a Jekyll configuration. So I can actually code, especially in something like a web server, right? Because they allow you to have, like I'm using Ruby right now because Jekyll runs on Ruby. Excuse me. I can actually show you right now where I can actually paste in this URL and change the port because the port was on a different port. And now I'm hosting a site, right? So you can see right there I'm hosting a responsive design site where I can. It's a blog, right? So I can actually like click and look at all this good stuff. So my point is that coding on a Chromebook, some people might be like, well, you don't have Linux unless you do something like Crouton. But really you do. I mean, this is Code Anywhere. This isn't an advertisement for Code Anywhere, but I've had a really good time with Code Anywhere in their little dev boxes. It's pretty cool how that all works. So coding on a Chromebook is completely possible.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
That's a great app. I've used it. Has FTP support, of course, if you just need to FTP in your server and do some code editing there, or even uploading files to your server. You can just use it if that's all you need to do is just move some files from your computer to your server. So it's a great app. I agree. And it, of course, you are on a Linux box just now, but there is a Chrome web app. It does work perfectly fine on Chromebooks. You don't have to put Crouton on your Chromebook to use Code Anywhere, just to clarify. You can use it on straight up, out of the box Chrome OS. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is many of you, probably most people who watch this podcast, are familiar with who François Beaufort. Did I say that right? I don't know. John butchers it every week. I figure I get a chance to butcher it.
Hey!
He is a huge member of the Chrome community, and we feel like we can share this because he shared it publicly on his Google+. He recently had a baby, and the baby came a little bit early, so naturally there was a little bit of worry. But the baby is home, the baby is fine, the mother's fine, everybody's fine. Francois is just out of his mind happy about this baby. Just loving it to death. It's his first child, and so if you've wondered maybe where he has been recently, that's where he's been. He's been with his family, and if you go to his Google+, you can see an adorable picture of his new little baby, and so definitely check it out if for no other reason than to say ooh ah at a really cute baby, and give Francois some congratulations.
I totally agree. I think that if we can, we should have the Chrome community do their best to plus that post as many times as possible, because it is a blessing, and his baby's very, very, very cute and healthy, and that's a wonderful thing.
If I wanted Facebook, I would go to Facebook. I'm kidding, of course.
Dude, you ignorant. Oh, that is so messed up, dude. It
was a joke, John. Of course, I'm thrilled for him. I was thrilled for him when he got hired by Google, and now as a Googler parent, maybe he's the one responsible for driving this whole for kids movement. I don't know. But of course, I am thrilled for him. It's a wonderful addition to his family. And the photo, I don't know what it is. I think it's a filter, but it just looks artsy.
It's very incredibly artsy, but that's what people do when they have their first baby.
Right, and it's perfect.
The second kid, you're like trying to grab someone's just camera phone, and you're like, take a picture of this. This is sweet. Nah, okay, don't worry about it.
Right, right. Well, yeah, of course we're thrilled for him. It's already been plus one 475 times and shared 4 times. So
No, the sharing point, I understand that people are like, this is some guy I know in the Chrome community. Here's his baby. But the
It could have been
plussing,
his family.
the plussing, it probably is his family. The plussing, I think honestly that he needs a little hurrah from the community just to show that it's an amazing thing. It's a blessing. So.
it is, and the comments are so wonderful too. I have to be honest, the Chrome community is one of the nicest communities I think that's currently available. It's supportive, kind of familiar names, and you know who the jerks are like me that make awful comments about people's babies and their sharing preferences.
Facebook. You need. I don't know what you need to do, but you need to make amends for that comment.
He needs to have a baby.
I was the second person to say congrats on his post, so
Doesn't mean anything right now.
What took you so long?
well, I would have been there faster, but I wasn't.
Oh boy. So I think that about wraps it up. You guys have anything else? Any horrible comments about babies that we want to make before we close?
No horrible comments about babies from me. Craig, would you like to interject?
Yeah, actually. Mark Shuttleworth, who kind of looks like a big baby. I apologize. Sort of. They have just announced over at Ubuntu that they are reamping the way that they do updates. They're calling it Ubuntu Core, and it looks really interesting. And I think this news might have broken while we were recording.
Really? Wait, I
maybe.
gotta check this out. Are they doing a rolling release? What are they doing?
They're getting rid of apt-get completely.
Oh, are they
They're
using
moving
the
away from a
whole-
package
the
manager.
click install?
How do I install things by magic if I don't have apt-get anymore?
But apt-get is the base of Debian.
I will drop the link in for you guys. But basically, the way it reads, let's see. The Snappy system keeps each part of Ubuntu in a separate read-only file and does the same for each application. That way, developers can deliver everything they need to be confident that their app will work exactly as they intended. And we can take steps to keep the various apps isolated from one another and ensure that apps are always perfect. Okay.
Holy S.
Is this your containers thing that you keep talking about, John?
No. Well, wait a minute. Hold. Snappy architecture frameworks. Wait a minute. Cold. Oh no. Here's the other problem. Okay, here's the other thing. Now, gosh, that's terrible. I don't see. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Because here's the thing. If you notice by the article, there's some blue lettering in there that makes me cringe, and I'm gonna try and hold my. Hold on. Wait. Hold.
I don't see any blue letters.
Hold on. Wait. Don't talk, because then you can't see it. Hold on.
What are you talking about?
Can you see it right there? Come on. Can you see it right there?
Microsoft?
Azure. That's right. That's right. And the other thing is that Microsoft Azure, because basically they're allowing you to try the Snappy Ubuntu Core beta on Microsoft Azure. And they even have a quote from Bob Kelly, the corporate vice president of Microsoft, saying Microsoft loves Linux, and we're excited to be the first cloud provider to offer a newer edition of the one most popular Linux platforms in the rapidly growing Azure cloud.
You know what? I take my apology back about the he looks like a baby comment. If they're going to partner with Microsoft.
Well, they are. And by delivering the new cloud-optimized Ubuntu Core, which remember last week we spoke for the first time, even though, oh my gosh, it's even designed for Docker. Basically, they're creating Core OS, which, by the way, is a complete not complete, but it's a fork of Chromium OS, and they're basically trying their best to come up with this. Okay, here's what makes me upset about this. Okay. Two things. The two best podcasts out there besides ours is the Linux Action Show and Bear With Me. Craig's like, what are you talking about? And no one's gonna watch this, so it doesn't matter. But Linux Action Show and Linux Unplugged. I'm hoping that this breaks during Linux Unplugged. They interviewed Mark Shuttleworth like a week ago, and he did not mention this at all, of course, because there's like this whole thing. But basically, they just released a Core OS version of Ubuntu using Docker, right? Which Docker is a way to compartmentalize everything about an application, including even at the CPU level. Docker contains an application, so that way there's no way that unless you give it root access somehow, it's going to have access to anything but what you tell it to have access to. It also allows you to package apps a little bit neater. Now, is Ubuntu doing something cool with this? Yeah, but it's already been done, and it pisses me off that they actually I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a geek, dude. I can't get away from the whole Microsoft thing. I really can't. I can't believe. I'm sorry. I'm done. Go ahead. Get it done.
So, just to be clear, in your opinion, my baby comment was the second worst thing that happened tonight.
Mark Shuttleworth, who was interviewed just recently on the Linux Action Show, did not mention anything like this at all. And I know that he's not trying to let out anything or anything like that, but he you know what he did do? Is he did talk about how Systemd was something that he was just going to go ahead and let in because that was the best, really the best, just because somebody else designed it, that was the best option. So why would they throw away the best option, especially when it's open source and da-da-da-da-da. And here's this, I don't know, man. It really makes me upset. I really, I don't like this at all. I think this is Ubuntu taking the totally the wrong step because I mean Unity is one thing, having the argument about Upstart versus Systemd is another, but going with Azure to be the partner on the website to talk about it is just honestly them going after the money. So it's just. That kind of sucks. That's all.
Well, maybe not. I mean, we do know that there is new leadership at Microsoft, and they are making changes and strides. Could this be a legitimate partnership?
I mean, they only talk about the cloud, but it just seems like they're trying to what they're trying to do. And okay. I don't know. I don't like it because I think that
We've gathered that much.
I think Core OS beats Ubuntu in this challenge. I think, but the fact that Ubuntu's already a leader for desktop Linux. I mean, like literally, I'm running Ubuntu on my Linux machine, which, by the way, by tomorrow should be uninstalled and have something else laid over it. But I guess I'm totally fanboy about this. Isn't that terrible? I didn't think I'd be like that, but I kind of am. I don't like the fact that Ubuntu went with Azure and everything else.
Well, you haven't tried it yet. You don't know if Core OS is still the best choice. What if they've been... yeah, you did. You invited me on this show like a year ago, man, and ever since then you've been paying for it week by week. You had an opportunity to fire me for the baby comment. You let that slide. This is the result. Now, honestly, you have not tried this. They may have been working on this for 3-4 years or 2 or 3 days. either way, it's a viable competitor now. Ubuntu does have weight behind them, whether you like it or not. And by using their products, you're contributing to that weight. So, yeah. I don't hate Ubuntu. I think their company is a little confused sometimes. I compare them to Cyanogen Mod. They tried to spin off. They not doing that great. But I don't think it's a result of poor leadership or anything like that. I think it's just very, very difficult to take a community-driven project and try to make it legitimate in terms of build a corporation around it, make money from it, without ticking off the community that made it viable in the first place. I think that is an incredibly difficult transition to make. I don't think it's been made in the past well by many companies. I think Red Hat is probably an exception. I think they probably think that the company behind Ubuntu has done a great job so far. I think they've alienated a lot of their original user base with things like Unity, the Amazon search provider that threw up ads in your system search, things like that. But I'm thankful that because the Linux open source community is the way it is, we still have Mint. We have Cinnamon on Mint. We have Debian as the base. We have other options. It's very easy, and it's going to be very easy for you tomorrow, John, to install another distribution. The hardest part is going to be picking one. And I think that says something about the choices you have as a consumer in the Linux ecosystem today. You have a lot of choice. And on the server side, you're not forced to use Ubuntu. You can use CentOS, you can use CoreOS, you can use whatever you want. Red Hat Enterprise if you want. But I'm not opposed to Ubuntu trying something new or partnering with a company, even the likes of Microsoft, just because I think, honestly, anything's worth trying. And if it goes down in flames, so be it. We'll have Mint or Debian or whoever to fall back on.
I know, and I get that. I do. I totally get that. I totally understand. But now that I've read a little bit more about this, they're basically they've rebuilt CoreOS, right? They've redone it. They talk about security features that are all based around Ubuntu, all around Docker. They talk about Docker explicitly. They talk about packaging your apps differently. And I get all that. But did you know that CoreOS is actually they're going to use Docker, but they're actually backing away from Docker a little bit, where they've actually introduced Rocket, which basically takes the manifesto from Docker from a couple of years ago or a year ago and says we're going to continue with that manifesto, where Docker is actually pushing itself into more of the operating system realm, where they're taking themselves away from just that one compartmentalized we just do apps to like something bigger. And so Rocket is supposed to be this whole like Google Apps version of apps where everything's bundled into one unit, and then you can sign it, and then you can have your own server deliver it, right? Versus Docker currently has a centralized system for Docker containers that are signed, so people that love Ubuntu are going to be like, I think like half of them are going to be like, what the hell am I looking at? The other half are going to be like, yay, Ubuntu, I love Ubuntu, just like every person that loves a product, like I love Google, and I say yay when they do something stupid. I think the people that know about CoreOS are going to be like, why would I ever want something bloated like Ubuntu when CoreOS just came out and has this cool thing, and then Rocket's come out and it's got this own signed apps type thing, but with Docker functionality and with all the security habit. I think that this is just I don't know what this is. I really wish, honestly, that Mark Shuttleworth had made mention of this and would talk about it. I haven't checked his blog. Apparently he blogs, and maybe we could find out what he said. I don't know.
Are you worried that this is going to be a viable competitor to CoreOS, or are you worried that Ubuntu is going to capitalize on the little bit of success they've had in the desktop market to kind of shove their way into the market using Microsoft also as a partner?
Yes. because of the fact that you actually hit both points. I think that that Ubuntu came into being because they wanted to. It was the free open source, the open operating system. And it was for everyone, everyone. And the point was everyone. Like whether you lived in Sri Lanka or you lived in New Guinea, or you lived in India, or you lived in Scotland, or you lived in Canada, or you lived in the United States. It was for everyone, right? And then I think they did things like Unity, which were kind of groundbreaking. They did some stuff like that. Now they've broken into like the mobile market because Mark Shuttleworth believes that personal devices like phones are powerful enough to run a full operating system, which they are. So he's looking for a convergence there, so that way you have this one just huge ecosystem that's all one. I think that going for a Docker perspective, I think and I bridge all this with my listening to Linux Action Show, with the fact that they've talked about that as well, about how the fact that this is coming, right? Docker containers, containerization of applications, having a layer where the kernel is completely separated from applications, and then the delivery of apps through containers is coming. I think this is all coming, but the fact it makes me upset about this because, like you said, Craig, they're partnering with Microsoft, which I think Microsoft is grasping at straws, trying to find its industry again when for so many years it screwed us, we took the screwing. That's the other part of that. And that upsets me that we did take the screwing, but they built this out of licensing their operating system for so many years, and then the fact that they've it's a monopoly thing in my brain. It's a long story in my head about why I don't like this, but I do not like the Microsoft thing. I do not like the fact that Ubuntu, from their article, because they're an open source organization, or at least partially open source. I mean, they are open source, but they just have a different tact when it comes to certain things that they do open source. They make it seem like they've done all this themselves, when they haven't. I think CoreOS has all this stuff. It just doesn't have a desktop, which Ubuntu does have. So I'll stop talking, guys. I do apologize. This really shocked me when Craig started talking about it. I was like, what? And the fact that they use the term core, what? I don't know.
The word core existed before the Chromium OS fork. Just FYI, that's not a word they made up.
Did it?
There's a movie called The Core. It was a terrible movie, but it was a movie.
That was an awesome movie with the little digger machine. That was like a little worm with like the things on the side. That was cool. Was it McConaughey in that?
Stop it.
Do you have like instant access to IMDb or something? Or do you just
I
actually watch bad
film.
movies?
I actually remember the film.
Oh. Huh. It kind of makes you wonder how much room in your head you would have for other stuff if you weren't holding on to things like that.
He was like 30 when that movie came out, so it's fresh in his mind.
Listen, that little digger like ship thing. It was the most plausible of all the digger ship things, because I mean Jules Verne's turned into the center of the Earth. No, listen.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle digger thing.
No.
was way more plausible. That's what I would take to the center of the Earth.
Listen, you read Jules Verne and you're like, yeah, totally not plausible, because literally more is understood about the crust of the Earth and the magma and the lava and all that good stuff. So when you read Journey to the Center of the Earth, you're like, this is like total BS. He like jumps the shark within the first like 4 chapters. With Core, like you actually like you were like, yeah, that makes sense. Where
does asteroid mining come in?
That's later in the movie Armageddon, and there's no mining going on. They just blow one in half. Are you mixing your movies here?
They have to mine first because they have to put the bomb in a certain depth of the meteor thing.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
They didn't just
they were
stick it to the surface.
That's right. They were drillers by trade, weren't they?
I haven't seen any of these movies, so I'm just making stuff up.
listen.
I think we're gonna go ahead and close on that.
Armageddon is like literally Armageddon, and then you have Deep Impact. You have the blockbuster, and then you have the emotional roller coaster. Check it out.
Sure. Oh boy. And just so John doesn't get mad at me, and Craig does, Craig, where can people find you when you're not on this wonderful podcast?
Well, not on Google Plus anymore.
Because of Francois' baby pictures?
It's not just his. It's all the other baby pictures that don't exist on Google Plus. No, you can find me on Google Plus, probably. I have a love-hate relationship. I love the users. I love the people. I hate that it takes so long to load on my Chromebook. We need to get that fixed, guys. Come on.
Yeah, you should probably upgrade from that ARM book.
Or just fix Google Plus. Make it a little bit faster. You know, it uses a lot of what I call unnecessary JavaScript, by which I mean all JavaScript. I don't really know JavaScript.
I think it uses every single library of JavaScript known to man, and that's why it does that.
Probably. That actually seems plausible. You figure Google must have a copy of every library available. So, it's possible. Anyway, you can find
the NSA. Sorry.
That's another potential thing that we could talk about for hours. Yeah, you can find me on Google Plus or Twitter or LinkedIn or what's that other one?
Facebook.
No, not that one. I mean, there's profiles there, but I don't think I own them. I'm pretty sure you guys set them up. If you didn't, then I got some research to do. Where can people find you, John?
Well, thanks for that segue, Craig. People can find me. My name is John Alphant on the Google Plus. I did start a little sideline project, and as sideline projects go, hopefully it goes well and it continues on to infinity. Which, so far, not really doing well in that department. But if you head over to tnotm.github.io, that's right, tnotm.github.io. The TNOTM stands for the needs of the many. I'm working on a little thing based on the whole indie web, trying to figure out if I could build a Jekyll theme wrapped around the indie web. So I'm just trying to check that out because it's pretty cool. Because like if a site asks you to log in, you can log in with your own personal URL, and then once you log in with your own personal URL, you just put in the password for whatever site, and then it links up to that site, like Twitter, or Google Plus, or whatever you want. It's very fascinating to me, so that's where I'm going to be at.
All right, and you can find me on Google Plus. You can also find me. Well, not going to find me so much as the fruits of my labor at Chromebook.reviews, which I have been known to update in the past. I also wanted to mention, Craig didn't mention this, Craig's side project is ChromeUp.com. I bring it up because he actually updated that website not too long ago. So if it's been a while since you've seen ChromeUp.com, take a look. It's completely different.
No, stop. Don't say that.
I can't even recognize the site anymore.
Spread the word.
It was up to date, Sunday night, and I haven't got back to it.
I'm still waiting for the new guest mode wallpaper to hit your wallpapers page.
I'm so busy.
I
go there for the deal tracker.
Oh, please don't. I did. I actually I went back to that and I figured out I tweaked it so now they fade out when they're expired and they're marked as expired. So right now there are no active deals listed, but there are expired ones, but they're marked as expired.
That's technically updated.
I just got off the phone with an Amazon representative, argued with them that on ChromeUp.com I saw this model listed for $29.99, and it's upsetting to me, Craig.
It does. I actually do have a disclaimer at the bottom that I can't guarantee that it's accurate at the time of viewing. So
I didn't see that disclaimer, Craig.
It's visible, John. Look harder.
Get your bifocals, John.
It's called the magnifier, and I use it on all operating systems.
My favorite part of Chromebook.com is the device comparer thingy, which is also kind of up to date. It has many Chromebook models in it, and when I forget the specs on a particular model, my go-to resource for that is Chromeup.com. It's a fun little tool, lets you compare two Chromebooks together, or reminds me what processor certain models use. It's basically what I use it for. Anywho, I think that about wraps up this week's episode. I forgot the title of it already. Wasn't that good anyways. You can find us on YouTube and Google+, Practical Chrome. We use our real name, Practical Chrome. John, I'm going to need you to do that little sound thing that you do at the end of every episode for me.
Which one?
You don't have that queued up?
You know I
yeah,
do
don't you do that at the end of every episode?
I don't do it. Come on, man.
I got you. I got you guys.
No need.
No. Viewers, I apologize. If I could end the feed right now, I would.
No, wait a minute. Now, here's the thing about this. The Guardians of the Galaxy, the album, is free on Google Play. So it's the Awesome Mix Volume 1. It's completely free. So I mean, I think it's just kind of crazy that you would not think to even get this for free. Come on, Spirit in the Sky. Come on.
Yeah, U2's album was free, and you saw how that went. People don't like free stuff, John.
People love free stuff. I one time was in a grocery store and argued with my mother for like 15 minutes because I wanted a free phone book that was in Spanish. But I just saw the words free and thought I had to get it. Anyway.
I'm begging you to click the button that ends this broadcast.
We will be ending now. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
I'm sorry.